Hello viewers, welcome to another edition of Top 10. In this episode, we shall be bringing to you the top 10 oil producing countries in the world. Oil prices remain far from the heights they saw in 2008, but have rebounded a great deal since 2016, renewing interest in the sector. Investor sentiment and prices began to change after an output control deal was made between the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries (OPEC) and 11 of the world's top oil producers. The arrangement called for oil production to fall by almost 1.8 million barrels per day, and in late 2018, OPEC again decided to cut crude oil production by 1.2 million barrels per day in an effort to stabilize prices. Despite those efforts, increasing oil production in the US and other countries like Brazil and Libya has softened the effect of the cut and created some price validity. Given those circumstances, many investors are curious to know which countries produce the most oil, so we decided to do a video highlighting the top 10 oil producing countries in the world. Statistics are from the Energy Information Administration and including total production of petroleum and other liquids. If you are new here, welcome. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our updates. Without any further ado, let's take a look into the top 10 oil producing countries in the world. Number 10. Kuwait. Production per day 2,870,000 barrels per day. At number 10 position is Kuwait, whose output has dropped 2 years in a row. In 2016, production reached 3,072,000 barrels per day, then dropped to 2,825,000 barrels per day in 2017. In 2018, the country made a slight recovery, producing 2,870,000 barrels per day. Kuwait oil and gas sector accounts for about 60% of the country's GDP and about 95% of its export revenues. Number 9. Brazil. Production per day 3,428,000 barrels per day. Brazil's oil production jumped dramatically from 3,363,000 barrels per day in 2017 to 3,428,000 in 2018. According to the AIE, total primary energy consumption in Brazil has nearly doubled in the past decade because of sustained economic growth. The largest share of Brazil's total energy consumption is oil and other liquid fuels, followed by hydroelectricity and natural gas. The recent surge in production and export is said to be the result of years of large investment by state-run Petróleo Brasileiro. They are said to now be paying off due to higher oil prices. According to Reuters, the nation hopes to use higher oil sales to help drag its economy out of a 2-year recession. Number 8. United Arab Emirates. Production per day 3,791,000 barrels per day. The United Arab Emirates is an OPEC member and has ranked among the top 10 oil producing countries for decades. It saw a small decrease in production from the previous year's 3,765,000 barrels per day. However, it appears that oil output has stabilized and is back up to 3,791,000 barrels per day. The country holds the world's 7th largest proven oil reserves at 97.8 billion barrels, with most of these reserves located in Abu Dhabi. The other 6 Emirates combined accounts for just 6% of the country's total reserves. Number 7. Iran. Production per day 4,471,000 barrels per day. Iran's oil output decreased last year, falling from 4,695,000 barrels per day in 2017 to 4,471,000 barrels per day in 2018. According to the AEI, Iran holds the world's 4th largest proven oil reserves and the world's 2nd largest natural gas reserves. Despite the country's abundant reserves, Iran's oil production has sustainably fallen in recent years, and natural gas production growth has been slower than expected. US sanctions and regional disputes have all weighed on Iran's energy production sector. Global shipping operators such as Maersk Line and Mediterranean Shipping have reportedly made claims that they will be winding down general cargo shipments, while tanker owners said they plan to move their vessels to other oil-producing countries in the Middle East or West Africa. Blocking Iran's access to crude carriers will have a huge impact on the nation's oil industry, as well as the largest buyers in Asia. In fact, some predict that this could halve Iran's daily crude shipment. As a counter, the European Union has launched its own offering to Iran. It hopes to preserve the Iran nuclear deal in exchange for enacting a blocking statute that will allow European companies to do business with Iran during the embargo. Time will tell how the nation reacts to this development, but in the meantime, Iran has vowed to break the sanctions and continue selling oil. Number 6. Iraq. Production per day, 4,616,000 barrels per day. In 2017, despite increasing its output, Iraq got bumped from the 6th place by Iran on the top 10 oil-producing countries list. Output in 2018 helped the nation regain its 6th spot position. The Middle East country marginally increased its oil production from 4,455,000 barrels per day in 2017 to 4,616,000 barrels per day in 2018. It holds the world's 5th largest proven oil reserves at 144 billion barrels. That represents nearly 18% of the reserves in the Middle East and almost 9% of global reserves. Number 5. China. Production per day, 4,816,000 barrels per day. China's annual oil output decreased in 2017, going down to 4,779,000 barrels per day from 4,863,000 barrels per day in 2016, while output was up in 2018 at 4,816,000 barrels per day. It did not exceed 2016 production numbers. China is the world's 2nd largest consumer of oil and moved from being the 2nd largest net importer of oil to the largest in 2014. Of the top 10 oil-producing countries, China is the world's most populous country and has a rapidly growing economy factor that have driven its high overall energy demand. China receives much of its oil from Iran, but US sanction could have a dramatic effect on supply from the Middle Eastern country if Iran follows the rules. China may be forced to find some of its supply somewhere else or amp up its own production to fill the gap. Number 4. Canada. Production per day, 5,295,000 barrels per day. Next on the list of the top 10 oil-producing countries is Canada. It boosted its annual oil production to 5,295,000 barrels per day in 2018, surging past 2017's output levels at 4,964,000 barrels per day. Nearly all of Canada's proven oil reserves are located in Alberta, and according to the province's government, 97% of oil reserves there are in the form of oil sands. Energy exports to the US accounts for the vast majority of Canada's total energy exports. However, because of economic and political considerations, Canada is developing ways to diversify its trading partners, especially by expanding ties with emerging markets in Asia. Canada has been embroiled in a national debate over pipelines. Last year, the federal government purchased the Kinder Morgan Canada Trans Mountain Pipeline for $4.5 billion to ensure Canadian crude reaches market ports. The project is estimated to cost another $7.4 billion Canadian dollars to construct, after which the government says it plans to sell the project back to the private sector. However, there is no telling if that will occur because the federal court found that a previous environmental review is sufficient. Now the pipeline is up for a review again, with a new environmental impact study due to released in 2019. There has also been a long-standing debate over the Keystone XL pipeline, with Donald Trump even issuing a second sector order in April 2019 to try to fast-track the expansion of the pipeline, which runs from Alberta to Nebraska. Number 3. Russia. Production per day, 11,401,000 barrels per day. Russian oil outputs have been increasing steadily over the years, growing from 11,210,000 barrels per day in 2017 to 11,401,000 barrels per day in 2018. Despite coming in third on the list, Russia is the world's largest producer of crude oil and the second largest producer of dry natural gas, according to the EIA. Most of Russia's reserves are located in West Siberia, between the Ural Mountains and the Central Siberian Plateau, as well as in the Urals-Volga region extending into the Caspian Sea. Some believe Russia will be one of the few nations to benefit from US sanctions on Iran. That's because if Iran toes the line on sanctions, then its oil consumers, which include China, France, Turkey and Italy, could turn to Russia for supply. This would not only give Russia an economic boost, but improve relations between countries. However, Iran's current position is to not abide by the sanctions. Number 2. Saudi Arabia. Production per day, 12,419,000 barrels per day. Saudi Arabia's output came in at 12,090,000 barrels per day in 2017 and climbed to 12,419,000 in 2018. The Middle Eastern country possesses 18% of the world's proven petroleum reserves and ranks as the largest exporter of petroleum. Its oil and gas sector accounts for about 50% of its GDP and about 85% of its export earnings. In 2016, Saudi Arabia played a key role in OPEC's decision to crude oil output, and as noted, prices have improved since then. However, in 2018, the country increased its output by 1 million barrels per day, causing prices to dip. Saudi Arabia alongside the US and Russia attended last year's G20 summit in Argentina, where global energy supply was a topic. Number 1. The United States. Production per day, 17,806,000 barrels per day. Number 1 on the list of the top 10 oil producing countries is the United States. It produced the most oil in 2018, with output increasing from 15,647,000 barrels per day in 2017 to 17,886,000 barrels per day in 2018. The United States has been described as a swing producer because its production fluctuates alongside market prices. The International Energy Agency forecasts that the oil will continue to saturate the world's appetite for oil and demand expands in the next 5 years. In addition to being a major oil producer, the United States is a big consumer of oil. Last year, the United States took in a total of 7.26 billion barrels of petroleum products. That's an average of about 19.88 million barrels per day. United States President Donald Trump has criticized OPEC's cuts, saying they have driven oil prices artificially high. He has also instigated sanctions against both Russia and Iran and pulled the US out of the Iran nuclear deal. There you have it. Those are the top 10 oil producing countries in the world. If you feel we missed any, do let us know in the comment section below. Do not forget to like, share with your friends, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our updates.